before I do, I want to say hello and welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of my community. I really appreciate it. I love getting to know you guys. So if you're catching the replay, let us know if you got to attend live. Let me know that as well. All right, let's see what we're meant to hear today. I do this Q's of Candus because I thought it'd be a great way for you guys to learn more about QuickBooks. But instead of because we get so many questions, instead of answering one person's question and trying to answer it, it's so much easier for me to answer verbally. I'm a very easier to explain verbally. I don't really like emails, honestly. I try to keep them short and sweet. Sometimes they're a little longer, but I really don't love emails. I prefer to just talk. It's my way. So what are we meant to hear today? I know and affirm my body is a friendly place to live. Interesting. Hold on. I have respect for my body and I treat it well. I affirm positive things about my body and tell it I love it often. Aw, are you nice to your body? Do you treat it? Do you appreciate the physical body that you have to use to move around on this planet? I love that card. It's a good midweek card. It's a good reminder for me. I've been busy doing all kinds of things. So it's always good to get a little reminder about what's going on. So we're going to get started. I already have the questions set up. My team took care of them. So we're going to get started. The first question is, let's see here. The first question is, we have a customer that we bill, but we also owe them money from jobs. How do I invoice? So it says, how do I invoice? We owe to a bill they owe us. Probably doesn't make sense to you guys, but I know what the question is. I get it. So I speak QuickBooks, so I totally get the question. All right. So what they're asking is, and you may ask this question too, sometimes you have a customer and a vendor who are the same, they're your customer, but you also pay them. But instead of exchanging cash or money, they want you to apply the credit, or they want you to send them money, even though they owe you money because you owe them more than they owe you. Does that make sense? Are we clear on the question? So how do you handle that in QuickBooks? It's actually kind of tricky, but I have a trick for you. So a workaround. So what I recommend doing is creating a bank account called a clearing account. We use this for a few different types of things, but you're going to want to go in and create a clearing account, which I realize has a typo in mind. So I'm going to fix it. And you're going to learn how to do that too. So I'm weird. I don't like it when your chart of accounts or your vendor center or your customers, whatever it is, that there's some capitals and some lowercase. So if I see mistakes, I like to fix them as I go. So I probably just typed this in wrong because spelling's not my specialty either. But add a bank account so that you can, it doesn't matter if you're just applying the bill to the invoice and then there's a difference either direction, they owe you more or you owe them more. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to show you each one how you do it properly. Got it? Okay. So you're going to go down and create a bank account new, just like you create any thing you want to add to your chart of accounts, whether it's a bank account or it's an income or expense, but it's going to be a bank. It could technically be you want it to be a bank because you want it to pop up in the right places, and QuickBooks is a little particular on some of them, so I'll show you. So you click continue. You might think asset, it is an asset account, but bank account is the way you want to set it up so that it works properly. And then you're going to call it clearing, okay? Or whatever you want, but clearing account is what I have. Mine's already created here. Just going to edit it because I have a little typo. Might as well fix it while we're here. Okay, so save and close. Now my typo is fixed. So then the next part is you need to have both sides of your transaction entered. Let's just, let me look and see who I owe money, and then I'll also add them as a vendor. Give me who owes money to me. So we have a daily sales. We'll do that one. Daily sales. So daily sales is my customer. They're also going to be my vendor. And one thing you're going to learn is you can't have the exact same name in both places. There has to be a slight variance. That's just the rule within QuickBooks. You can't have two of the exact same things as a vendor or as a customer. So I'm going to have it as daily sales. And then I might put like a little V behind it, so I know this one is the vendor. And you could do it as a quick add if you just want to add it quickly. If you want to set it up and add the mailing address and all that, you can do setup. In this example, I'm going to do a quick add. I'll just do it for today, and I'll say it's $1,000 is a bill, and we're going to say that we did job supplies. I could add an invoice number, I guess, if I wanted to. Okay, and then I'll do this to. So we bought something for them, but we probably bought it for a different customer than for themselves. So we'll do it to like, you could do it to a customer or you can keep that blank. That's totally up to you. You just add it like you normally do. Okay. So now we have a bill and we have an invoice. So we owe them. Vendors are the people you spend money with. So we owe them, but then they also owe us. So how do we handle that? We are going to go in and we're going to pay the bill. So in this example, we're going to apply what they owe us to the bill so that they don't actually have to ever pay us money. So we're going to go in, we're going to pick daily sales. This is an advanced strategy, but for those of you who are ready, you can learn it. So we're going to go into the vendor. We're going to click pay the bill. We're going to pay the full bill if they owe you for the full amount. If they only like, if the way it works, they only paid part of it, then it would be like a $500. So it all depends on your technical experience and how much they're letting you like go back and forth. Does that make sense? Okay. So then we're going to do it to, we'll just do today's date's fine. I did the due date is later, but it doesn't matter. This is the key. You use the clearing account to pay the bill down. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're saying, I'm not actually paying them, but they don't owe, I'm not actually paying them because they owe me money. Good. So use a clearing account and you don't need a check number because there is no check. You could put your initials in there if you wanted, but you don't have to. And you click OK. Now we just used our clearing account to pay our vendor, but we're going to say that also we're going to lower their bill by $1,000 because we're basically just exchanging, but we want to see it on our P&L as an expense. And then we're also going to see it as income because we're exchanging. Basically, they wash each other out, but we want to do our books correctly. So then we're going to go and we're going to receive a payment to the same customer, right? So that customer now paid us $1,000. Did they really pay us? No, they didn't really pay us, but we also didn't pay them. So we're basically writing off the $1,000. Does that make sense? Okay, so then we've agreed that we're going to apply it to this old invoice for $1,000, and you can leave it to undeposited funds if you want. If you don't have anything showing there, you can leave it, just leave it. If you have it set up where you can choose your account, you could choose to go straight to the clearing. But to keep you from messing things up, I recommend just leaving it as undeposited, leaving their like the rest of what they owe, which is what this is telling you over here there, and clicking save and close, then recording your deposit. You're going to choose your $1,000. It's going to go into your clearing account. Before I do that, though, I want to show you what the clearing account looks like on the back side. So inside the clearing account right now, it's just negative $1,000. We just spent $1,000, but we haven't to the vendor, so to speak, but we haven't adjusted for the customer side yet. So now I'll show you. I'm going to make a deposit. This doesn't make sense. You probably don't need it. And if you need it, you're like, oh, that's how I would do it. You can always watch this again. So then you have your clearing account, goes to the customer. We're acting as if they paid us, but it's only because, and you could put a memo like owed daily sales for invoice 1234, whatever it is, allowing, you just say like paying down invoice for what we owed or what they owed. We owed. It gets a little confused between who owed who. Okay. And you click save and close. Now what's happened is that vendor doesn't owe you money. So daily sales is here. It shows a bill and a payment. You can always add a memo in there as well. And then under customers, daily sales, it shows, let's do Let's do for today. All transactions. There's your payment for $1,000. You open it up, you'll see there's a payment. And then when you go to the checking account, the clearing, you'll see it's both sides of it are in there, and then you can have your detail. So that's how, if you have a vendor and a customer who are the same, and you want to basically, you're not really ever going to exchange money, but you're going to apply bills and invoices against each other, that's how you would do it. They need to both be in your QuickBooks file. Does that make sense? Did you guys enjoy that? Did you learn something? You can let me know in the chat. Some of you may or may not needed to know that, but that was today's question. It's a little more advanced strategy. Okay. Have some extra little screen open. Let's see what you're saying real quick. We're doing this live. Yes, that makes sense. Cool. Did you need that, Veronica? Somebody raised their hand. I'm not doing like, you can put in the chat if you have a question about what I just taught. Feel free to put it in there. And then let's go to the next question. So the next question is, see, I'll look and see real quick on the chat. Not yet, laugh out loud, but it's good to know. Yeah, not everybody has that. Some people actually send money back and forth, but not all people do. Okay, I remember, let's see, what's the next question? When I'm paying bills through QuickBooks, instead of one vendor, I paid another vendor. How do I fix and put the right vendor to the check without messing up QuickBooks? So what they're saying is they wrote a check, possibly, or used bills, but most likely they wrote a check. And they wrote the check originally to, let's say, Allstate. And it was for $1,000, okay? I'm just giving you guys an example of, based off the question, what I think happened. So what you would do is you can either go into the vendor center to fix it, or the check register, in my opinion, is like the easiest, or the right checks, like wherever you want to go. The check register is fine. And you're going to see Allstate. You can double click on it. It's the easiest, in my opinion. And then you're going to drop this down. And if it was really supposed to go to American Express, you would, because you accidentally just typed in A and then selected the wrong person, or their names are really close, you would literally just change the name. Now, what's going to happen is wherever it was originally coded to is going to stay there. What you're going to want to do is you're also going to want to change it to your American Express as well, credit card, if that's what it is. Or so you just want to make sure that if you put the wrong name, it may have also put it to the wrong account type if it automatically pulls. So if you need to change your vendor name, then you also want to make sure that it's now going to the proper expense category. And that's how you change it. It will not mess with your bank reconciliation. It won't mess with anything other than it's just moving the vendor, but you also want to make sure it's still going to the proper AP, proper expense or account. So it could be expense, it could be a balance sheet item, it could be a lot of different types of accounts, it could be a liability account. You just want to make sure that who you really want to pay is correct, as well as what type, where you want it to show up is correct. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody good? You can let me know in the chat if you have any questions. I'm going to look real quick because I realize I also have this streaming. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing out on the people who are asking other questions. Let's see real quick. Was that an error? Yes. So for somebody, they accidentally paid the wrong vendor and they want to know how to fix it. I don't think it told me who the person was in this. My team forgot to add that part, which is fine. Sometimes we know the name and sometimes we don't. Depends how it's submitted. But yeah, so this is if you had an error and you wrote a check to the wrong place or you entered the wrong expense, right? So people also ask like, hey, Candus, I accidentally picked the wrong expense. How do I fix that? You just literally change it. In the check register, you could literally just change it to American Express here and American Express. It depends how comfortable you are in making changes in the check register versus opening up and doing a check. You could do either one. There's not one way better than the other. It's all based off your experience and your comfort level, I would say. Does that make sense, Donna? I think that was Donna that asked the question live. Like, was that an error? Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, you guys ready for the next one? Okay. So the next question is, just watched the video on how to keep an old version of QuickBooks and a new version of QuickBooks. So this is somebody who's probably watched it on my YouTube channel. And they said, customizing and installing. So I have a whole video on like, you don't have to, a lot of people don't know, but you don't have to like, when you upgrade to a newer version of QuickBooks, you don't have to get rid of your old version. You can still keep it so that if you do books for different people. So sometimes what happens is your clients will use older versions of QuickBooks. Or if you're a bookkeeper, you do taxes, or maybe you just want to keep your like old version and then you want to install your new version, you can. And then you just upgrade. So you could do whichever one. The question that this person had though is, does it matter how old the version is? No. I will tell you some tips though. So if you have like a 2004 version of QuickBooks and you want to upgrade to 2020, back up your QuickBooks first so that you know you're got a good file. And then you can download or install the new version of 2020. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to like save it or not? That's your choice. You can choose to do it based off what I teach. If you want to keep the old version just for comfort, you can. As long as you have a good QuickBooks backup, which I recommend backing up on like something like this, like an external drive, so that you know it's on there. Then when you go to convert it over, QuickBooks will ask you to back it up again, which is fine. And then you restore, what's called restore it. So, or update it. So it's, you bring the new file in and then QuickBooks goes, okay, do you want to open this file now? Because once you do this process where you convert it to the new file, you can never open it on an old version of QuickBooks any longer. So that's why you have to be careful if you're taking on a client or you're opening QuickBooks in a newer version. Just know you always have to use the newer version moving forward. You can still use wherever your file was at on the old version before you upgraded it. But the moment you upgrade it and start using that file, you can never go back and open it on an older version of QuickBooks. Like when I say older version, like 2004 versus 2020 or 2019, 2018, 2017. Once you open it in a 2020, you cannot go back. Okay. So doesn't matter how old it is. No, you should be able to use your file. Now, the only problem would be is if your file is corrupted, you might have a problem. So when you're going to back it up, you create a backup. The other tip I would tell you is make sure you do a full verification. So you can do a local backup and click next. I want to click here on options. So it doesn't, it used to automatically tell you this, but it doesn't anymore. So when you go click local, click options, and then make sure you do a complete verification right here. I recommend also adding this here, this check mark where it's like a date and timestamp, so you know which backup it's for. Okay. And then you click next, you tell it where you want to save it and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then you save it. That's actually what you do here now. They change it a little bit. Now this is where you're like browsing to find where you want to save it and you want to find your external drive. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Are we all good? Let me know if you have any questions based off the answers. Okay. I don't see any, so we're good. So this is the next question. I'm using QuickBooks 2017. Under customers, I mistakenly clicked on add a job instead of a new customer. So what they're saying, so you kind of get the question. I can read people's questions. I usually know what they are, but in case you're like trying to follow along and you're not sure, what this person's saying is they went to the customer center and they're using an older version, but from 2015, I haven't downloaded 2020. I'm going to download it later this week because it's now available. And I'll show you, I'll do a video and I'll do like, hey guys, does it look any different? I don't know. I haven't downloaded it yet. I don't know what it looks like. But in 2015 to like 2019 so far, there hasn't been that many changes. So this person's in 2017, so it's going to look the same. They went up and when they went to create a customer, they accidentally clicked on add job. It says it looks like it's duplicated the customer and included the invoice under the original customer. So basically her question is, how do I move it back to the original customer? Because I don't really need a job. So there's two parts of this. So let's set it all up because it's easier if I show you how to fix it if you see how the mistake, I think anyways, how the mistake happened. So let's go in and add a job. So because I'm clicked on Ron Berry here, this is Ron Berry as the customer in my sample file. If I click add customer, it's automatically going to pick Ron Berry. If I don't want it under Ron Berry, I want it somewhere else, you're going to need to make sure you change it. Just so you know, you may not have known, she might not have known she clicked on a job, which is okay. So let's do Q's with Candus because that's where we're at today. And we'll click OK. So now we have Q's with Candus as a customer. And then let's say we created, oops, I clicked on sales sheet. I meant to click on invoice because that's what she said she did. Let's do an invoice, a quick one. I'm just going to make something up here. Okay, so that's done. Save and close. I'm not going to explain how to do every step of that. That's a whole nother thing. Now, one thing I will tell you, when I was in here creating the invoice, let me go find the double click on the invoice. If I was paying attention, I would have noticed it said like Ron Berry Q's with Candus, but maybe she didn't notice that. So what you can do easily to fix it is you actually go over here to this little diamond, you just move it over here. And then now that person becomes a customer. But if you actually want, and then what you could do is just merge them, be the easiest. So it would be like Q's with Candus. And then I'm like, I don't really want it called, it's Ron Berry again. So you just could do Berry Ron and it would merge it. Then it would just become one customer. You want to make sure though, if you merge things, you do it right. So if you're like, I'm not comfortable with merging, the other option is you find the job. So let's put the job back under the person. So I'm just giving you guys like different ways you can handle this. Okay, so I'm just clicking on the diamond, and if I move it to the left as it has a line, or I move it to the right, it will, if I moved it to the right under this one, it would actually put that as a sub account, which we don't want as a sub job. So we just want Q's with Candus below Ron Berry. Are you guys learning something? Let me know. And then you can just choose to like go up and change it back up to here. Okay, and save and close it. And now it would go back up to the original job or customer. And now it's not under here anymore. And once it's not under there anymore, you can actually just delete the job. But you can't delete the job if something's in there. But you can once it's gone. So that's how you can like fix it and move it. That's probably easier actually than merging. You just adjust the invoice itself by choosing the customer and then resaving it. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if you guys have any questions about that specifically. That's how you fix if you billed the wrong person. All right, the next question is, I have a laptop. I have some laptops that were not capitalized. So what that means is if you typically have anything under $1,000, or depending on the size of your business, you don't have to capitalize it and you can expense it for the year. What does capitalize? It means you make it an asset of the business, and to capitalize it, you actually set up an asset account, right? Like a fixed asset, like a vehicle, or it could be office equipment, that kind of thing. Okay. So this person is saying, I have some laptops that were not capitalized. They were purchased throughout the year and were expensed. I'm having a problem creating a journal entry to reclass the expense. Don't know what account to credit. Can you please help? So part of her question I understand and part of it don't. I don't know what she means by reclass. If it was me, I would put it to the asset account. So I would move it. So if you were going to do a journal entry, which I wouldn't do a journal entry to fix this problem, I would actually do the extra work and go back and fix the original purchases. So, but if you're going to do a journal entry, the asset, let's just call it like office equipment. Okay, that would be what the asset is, or you could call it computers if that's what you want. It would be a fixed asset if you're going to depreciate it over time and you want to capitalize it. Okay, and be a fixed asset. And then if you would say you bought them and those like maybe $12,000 worth of computers, I don't know what the amount is, I'm making it up. And then you would take it out of whatever you originally expensed it to. So if like computers and expense is where you originally put it, the credit would go back. So when you originally expense an account, it's a debit to the account and a credit to your bank account. So the credit now would be wherever you originally put it, and the debit would be where you want it to go. How would I recommend fixing this? I wouldn't do it this way. How I would actually do it is I go in, find under vendor, the check register, like however is easiest for you to find where you spent the money. I would, let's see if I can find one. Like, let's just do this one. I would open it up and I would move it from an expense account. I would go in and I'd actually just move it to the asset. It's easier in people's mind to do a journal entry. The thing is if you ever want to go back and like look the detail up, it's not, you're going to go to the asset, then you're going to see it's a journal entry, then you're going to have to go back and try to find the transactions. So if you just fix the transactions to begin with and not try to take a shortcut and do it the right way, it will save you time and it'll be a better reference point. Okay. Hope that makes sense to everybody. All right. Then the next question is there a way to total the amounts received from a vendor in order for the individual to see the total amount they paid during the year? Okay. So in other words, how do I know how much I paid a vendor throughout the year? There's a couple different reports that you can pull. You can go under so that what I would do if it's a specific vendor and you want only one vendor is I would click on the vendor and then I would click here and I would say all payments issued, right? So you can have all transactions, but transactions will have bill and check. If you only want to know how much you've actually paid them, I would click on all payments issued, pick the time frame that you want it for. Then I go down here and click run report, view a report, and that's going to tell you, the where it's going to say all payments issued for all state, and then the payments issued, and this will actually total. When you do a quick report over here, it does not total. So the workaround to that is to come down here and click view report, and it shows you all your payments and the total you actually paid them. Hopefully that helps you with your question. I wish I knew the person's name because I'd be like so-and-so's name, but I don't know the name off the top of my head. It's not in there. Somebody said, if I had a one-time credit card purchase to be applied across several different customers, how would I post one transaction and to where? I will have Gracie add your question to the list, and it will be something we answer in future Q's with Candus questions. That way, because these ones have already been picked, that way we can, because what I do ahead of time is I look at the questions, right? So my team picks them, I look at them, and I've done my due diligence. So that way when I get on the call, it's like, we're just going through them, and so that way they're focused. So we'll add your question. Grace will add your question for the future. Thank you for your question. What I would tell you as a tip, side note, is you're going to want to be able to apply one payment to a bunch of different accounts. You need the main person to be the customer, and then all the different people to ideally be jobs would be the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, you can only apply what you can pay to each one, but we'll do an actual how-to for you like we're doing these ones. So we'll add it. All right, let's move on. So that was, if you want to know how much has been paid from a vendor, how can you pull a report for that specifically? Okay, the next question is, how do I run the owner's equity report? So what a lot of people wonder is they profit and loss, and they say, why does my owner draws not show up here? And that's because a profit and loss is only income and expenses. The owner's draw is an equity account. And so one of the things I love to teach you guys is what type of accounts go where. So if you're looking for your owner's equity anything, you're going to go under reports, company financial, balance sheet standard. And then you're going to scroll down. I have a lot of different accounts in here. And you're going to go down to your equity account, right? So this is equity, says it here. And then depending on how you titled it in your chart of accounts. So if we go down and we look over here under equity, depending on how you've titled it, it's how it's going to show up on the report. I have multiple, but that's because I give examples and this is my sample file. So like whenever I'm teaching, I just create whatever it is we need. You normally would be either an owner because you're sole proprietor, or you would be a shareholder if you have an entity. If it's an LLC, it might be a member. So there's different types of equity, but then you would go here and you can see what's going on. And then if you want more detail, just like any report, you double click on the dollar amount. And that's the detail. And if you want to print it, you can print it. If you want more detail behind that, you can double click on that. and then there's additional transactions. But that's how you pull the equity report. You pull a balance sheet, and then if you want more detail, you double click on it and more detail will be in there. Now, I will tell you, if you double click and there's nothing showing up, you want to go over here to all, and then things will show up. The reason it didn't show up to begin with is because the time frame on here, there was no transactions in there. Okay. So if you want to see everything that ever happened in the equity account, you want to drop it down, scroll to the very top and click all. I remember working with a private client and she's like, I always go in here and try to pick dates. I didn't know that there was an all option, and there is. So there you go. Joel goes, aha moment. Is that when I was talking about equity? Okay, perfect. I see there's, he said yes. Cool. Good, good. Okay. Yes, people, I think you might have asked that on the live too training, but sometimes the thing about QuickBooks and one of the great things about like learning is it takes time. Like I could have said that to you 2 weeks ago, but it didn't hit, or maybe I say it in a slightly different way and then it makes sense to people. So I've noticed, that's one of the things I love about Kampfer QuickBooks is you can go through it over and over again. So like I'll tell you that, but the thing is, it's like what, like I've said before, like watch the movie, reading a book. It doesn't always like click until you hear it again because you're just not in that place. Anyways, so how can you memorize reports for customers? That is the next question that we have. I think that's our last question for today as well. I like to keep these short and sweet so that you can learn, get a little knowledge, and then figure out. So whenever you want to memorize anything, what you want to do is pull a report. So can you memorize reports for customers? Yes, you can memorize any report you pull. So the person didn't say what report they wanted to memorize with customers, so we'll just talk about it. So if you love, like, it depends. So you can go over here and you can pull like a customer report, but let's just say that you love one of the reports you get inside the customer center or the vendor center, like I was showing before. You can go here and you can pull your report based off whatever you're looking for. This is based off a customer, all transactions. Then you click memorize, you name it, and you click OK, and it memorizes that report. So if you love the customization you've done on a profit and loss, you can click memorize and memorize it. You can, and what a memorized transact report does is it takes all the filters, all the date, like the parameters that you've given QuickBooks, date range, cash basis, accrual basis, customize the look and feel of the title. I've talked about that, I believe, on a different training before. But you add all these facts and then you can snapshot it basically. And then it makes a little clicking noise when you do it. That's why I made that snap. And then you can choose. So like if you want a profit and loss by quarter and you want to customize the font, do you see how the font all looks different? You can memorize, and then it's under memorized. There's accountant memorized reports. You can title in what you want, like a profit and loss for Candus. Like these are just samples I've done in the past. Let's see what else do we have. A profit and loss for one specific class. So you can have all different rentals and all different classes, but maybe you only want a P&L that pulls based off one property location, like 1234 Main Street. And then you can memorize that and have just that one report. Yeah, so you can memorize any report, vendor report, customer report, P&L, anything. You just select all of the customization that you want, and then you click memorize, and then you just name it what you want, and you're good to go. I'll show you that one in case you're like, okay, now I want to know how to do it. You click memorize, and then you rename it what you want, and you click OK. You can save them to different areas if you want, but most people don't. They just put them there, and then you'll have your reports. And then you can even add your memorized reports to your shortcuts if you want, but that's a whole nother tip and trick for another day. So I think we answered all of the questions that were pre-submitted. Lisa said, in the past, you've said that you may come out with recommendations for best apps. Is that something that you're still working on? Yeah. So I'm not working with QuickBooks Online as much as I originally was, right? So I actually just messaged somebody about an app today. So I'm just checking them out. So those are the pre-submitted questions. I'm trying to focus on only those questions today. If you submitted a question, I will have Gracie add them. If you didn't know, Comms QuickBooks is open and the mastermind is open. That's something I only offer a couple times a year. The great thing about that is you get to come in and ask me questions in a small group where you get your specific questions answered, and you can share your QuickBooks screen, which makes it even easier for me to answer questions typically. So for those of you who have not checked out Comms QuickBooks or aren't sure about the mastermind, go to commsquickbooks.com to find out more. Enrollment closes tomorrow for that. Actually, it just happens to be the time frame. And then if you're watching this after the fact, the next time we'll open it is sometime next year. I can't tell you the exact date because I don't know it yet. I haven't decided. How do I categorize the adjustments? Gracie, let me put this in the chat so you get this question, but I believe Joel is a new mastermind member, so he can ask it on our call in a couple weeks, like pretty quick here. Next week we start. All right, is that everything? I think that's all of our questions. Thank you for being here today. Did you guys learn something? I always love it if you tell me, like, was this helpful? Did you learn something? The truth is QuickBooks is easy if somebody shows you how to do it. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like Joel said, oh, I just had like a light bulb moment, right? Like, oh, it makes so much sense for me. Everything makes more sense when you have somebody who walks you through it and makes it simple. So if you're really interested in learning QuickBooks, you don't want to feel lost anymore, I highly recommend checking out Comms QuickBooks. And I'll show you real quick. I'm on Facebook, but let's go to, if you're like, okay, but I kind of want to learn, I like to hear from people who've gone through it. What is it like? I have a little video here that I want to pause so that doesn't go off. You can go down, you can read through what all we cover and how it works, but there is a group of people who've already gone through it. And then there's also each of their individual stories. So if you're been working for, you're about ready to give up and you're happy to watch this on YouTube, you would relate to Lori, who was about to quit before she found me. Sherry was a bookkeeper. She actually works with somebody else. They're a team, but they had some extra stuff that they were taking on that they needed to learn. Edith does her husband's bookkeeping. She had actually taken some college classes and was about to give up. Then you have Sheila, who's an enrolled agent who now does bookkeeping as well. And then you have Corinne, who also is a bookkeeper. So people sometimes are like, I don't have a business. I want to do bookkeeping. Does this work? Yes, it works for both, because it's not for somebody who wants to go, I just want to get certified and say, I now know QuickBooks. It's for somebody who wants to really actually understand it and get the mindset, like know why you're doing what you're doing and how to do it right, so you don't have mistakes. I don't focus on passing a test. I focus on real life using it, because both Sheila and Edith had taken a college class and got A's and still wasn't comfortable with using QuickBooks, right? So the way I've designed this is for you who are a bookkeeper, if you're doing books for like the business, your own business, your husband's business, or for somebody who's been wanting to like just get quick, like understand it. I don't know if that makes sense. Whenever people are like, I want to do it for testing, I don't think testing is important. I think real practical knowledge is the key. And QuickBooks is not taught, like sometimes when you go through and you want to learn something, they teach you like a canned file, and then you do stuff based off a canned file. I actually, throughout the course, just like I did today, I create real transactions so that you can see how they work. So Sherry was here. This is Corinne. She felt like she had holes as she got more clients. And then this is Carolyn, who started for her own restaurant. And then once we went into the mastermind, because the great thing about the mastermind is everybody's asking different questions from different businesses. And so she's like, wait a minute, I have rental properties. Can I use QuickBooks? Can I do QuickBooks for my rental properties? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So one of the things she shared is how great it was to be able to actually track her rental properties now as well. So you may get something different than you originally expected. If that's for you, go check it out. I like to finish with our of the day. Again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time. I hope you learned something that you can apply in your business or inside your QuickBooks. So today's thought of the day is, I know and affirm that my body is a friendly place to live. I have respect for my body and I treat it well. I affirm positive things about my body and tell it I love it often. I love this. Sheila said, it's great to pick up tips and that I can use. See, and that's awesome. Perfect. I love it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. We will do Q's with Candus again next month. If you don't want to miss it, you can always join. my tips and tricks because I let you know more about them there. CandusCamper.com/tips. And if you already get my emails, then you will be notified. Have an amazing day. Have a wonderful week. I'm going to give you back your energy, attention, and focus so you can go on throughout your day. And I'm going to take back my energy, attention, and focus so I can go on with mine. I will see you soon. If you have any questions about Commons QuickBooks or the Mastermind, you can email us, or if you go to commonsquickbooks.com and we're available, you will see the chat. If you're seeing this after enrollment's closed, join the waiting list so you will be notified next time. See you soon. Have a great day.